Welcome to Dreadful Side Quest, where we dive into some of the world's most dark and brutal topics. Today, we will be talking about brutal animal attacks. Now, before we get started, I bet you're wondering, why is he called Dreadful Side Quests now? Well, listen, I changed the name because there's only so much I can do with the topic of the paranormal, and there's so many other topics out there, such as true crime, strange events that have happened, stuff along those lines that I'd rather talk about. Doesn't really fall into the paranormal category, so I thought that Dreadful Side Quest would be a more appropriate name because it kind of signifies a more open-ended topic. So if you're wondering why my YouTube channel name is different, that's why. Don't worry about it. It probably won't change again, so shh, be quiet, it's okay. It's okay. But without further ado, let's begin this video. Since the beginning of time, humans and animals have coexisted together, some animals more friendly than others. But what happens when the animals that we love so much turn against us? Sometimes people just don't have boundaries. They'll see some wild animal out there just chilling, trying to have a good day, and they'll go over to it and be like, oh, look how cute it is, look how cute. And then the animal will attack them and they'll be in the hospital for like the rest of their lives, wondering what went wrong. Well, today I'm gonna tell you what goes wrong. People just have to respect animals. That's something that not a lot of people do these days. They just see some random cat coughing up its guts on the side of the street and they go over and they pet it. The cat scratches them. Now they have AIDS somehow. And then they're sick the rest of their lives and in so much pain. Like my significant other will see a deer just out in a field with like 50 million different diseases absolutely swarming its body and be like, oh, it's so cute, I'm gonna go say hi. And I'm like, you stay the hell away from that thing. If you touch it, you will become it. It will take over your body with whatever diseases it has. What I'm trying to say is, be smart about animals. Be smart when you're around animals and you won't have a problem. But I think that's enough of me rambling. Let's begin with our first animal attack. Now, this first attack follows the story of Peggy Jones, who got the shock of her life in August of 2023. When she was doing yard work on her property in Texas. All of a sudden, she saw something fall from the sky and hit her arm. As the object wrapped around her arm, she realized it was a snake. Oh, hell no. Jones screamed for her husband and began shaking her arm to remove the appropriately 4.5 foot long snake. But this only angered the creature, who tightened its grip and began striking at her face, hitting her glasses. Yeah, God said let there be glasses. Let's hope those protected this woman's life. The situation got even stranger in a matter of seconds when a brown and white hawk swooped down from overhead and joined the fray. The hawk had been flying overhead with the snake, its meal, and its talons and had inadvertently dropped it. It had now returned to claim its dinner. As the hawk attempted to grab the snake, its talons scratched Jones' arm, lifting it into the air. Eventually, the bird managed to uncoil the snake and fly off with it, leaving Jones slashed, punctured, and bruised. That's crazy though. This lady had like all of National Geographic going on her arm. That's wild. That's not something you see every day. Like, first off, it's bad enough having a snake on your arm, trying to bite your face and shit. I mean, it could have been a fish the hawk was carrying. It could have been a mouse or some disgusting rat, something like that. But no, it had to be the snake, and its dinner ended up attacking a poor innocent lady. See, these guys are just like air bombing us at these points. It's a conspiracy, I'm telling you. For all you people saying that birds are working for the government or whatever, you might be onto something. Her husband didn't see the attack, but soon heard his wife screaming and came to her aid, finding her arm covered in blood. He drove her to the hospital, but through her hysterics, it took several minutes to explain the story so he could fully understand the unbelievable tale. When she arrived at the hospital, it was determined that the majority of the wounds were from the hawk, and she did not appear to have gotten bitten by the snake. She was successfully treated with antibiotics and wound care, though she has suffered mental effects from the attack, especially since she was previously bitten by venomous snakes 2 years prior. This lady's gonna end up going to therapy for the most bizarre reason. Like, she's gonna walk into the therapy room, the therapist's gonna be like, oh, it's so nice to meet you, what brings you in? Welcome to the session. And she's gonna be like, snakes everywhere. And sorry, that caught me off guard. Sometimes I catch myself off guard saying random shit, but whatever. Yeah, she ain't gonna have a good time. Now, while that might be traumatizing, the next story we're gonna talk about is about some of the most fluffiest, fun-looking creatures out there. You know them, you love them. We are gonna be talking about bears in this next story. A summer night in Glacier National Park in 1967 forever altered how the United States and the National Park Service manages bears and the human-bear relationship. The national parks were very different than they are today. Littering was common and feeding the wildlife was common as well. These practices had helped condition various wild animals, particularly grizzly bears, to associate humans with food, contributing to the tragedy that took place deep on the night of August 13. Two women, Michelle Coons and Julie Helgeson, both 19, were fatally mauled to death after being dragged from their campsites by two different bears several miles from one another within the park. See, now bears are one of those animals that everybody goes absolutely ballistic for. They're like, oh, it's the cutest thing in the world. I want to pet it, I want to rub its little ears. Yes, while that might be true, do you also want to get mauled in the face by one? I don't think so. Not on my bucket list, at least. This incident served as a wake-up call to park officials as wildlife experts and rangers, some of whom had been making complaints before the attacks, began calling from widespread change to prevent future attacks. Near the attack sites at Granite Park, Shallot, the restaurant would feed the bears table scraps nightly as a spectacle for the visitors. At Trout Lake, one of the attack sites, 17 trash bags were picked up after the attack. Y'all are some dirty pigs. And you're over here wondering why bears are being attracted to your little restaurants and crap mauling the shit out of some of your visitors? Come on now. Come on, you know there are special bags that even backpackers have to use to prevent the scent of their food from attracting bears. It's not that hard. It's not rocket science. Clean up your trash, you dirty pigs. As journalist Jack Olson wrote in his book, Night of the Grizzlies, it is pure coincidence indeed that two grizzlies chose a few hours of a single night to take two victims. But it is no coincidence at all that the year was 1967 and the place was Glacier Park. He's preaching to the choir. So yeah, I guess Glacier Park was already pretty known for having multiple bear attacks, wild animal attacks. There's this one valley, I think it's also in Glacier Park, where it's strictly prohibited to camp. Like, you need a straight up license. You need to go through all these tests to be able to get a license to even like camp at this area in Glacier Park. I'm almost positive that's where it's at, but there's a bunch of brutal stories that I've heard from this place. If it is the place that I'm thinking about, it's pretty damn bad. Now, the third story I want to talk about is the Beast of Gévaudan, France. A not as recent tale dates back to the 18th century France, when a still unidentified creature terrorized the French countryside in the region of Gévaudan. The first victim was 14-year-old Jean Boulet, who was tending her sheep and was later found brutally killed. Many more victims would follow, and many with their throats torn out and bodies ripped to shreds. I mean, this sounds like a tiger, some wild cat. That's what they do. Just, you know, if they want to rip out a few throats, so be it. Women and children were often victims, some alone, some with others. Eventually, around 100 would be killed and up to 300 injured in the attacks that lasted about 3 years. To this day, nobody knows exactly what the Beast of Gévaudan was. Modern guesses include a wolf, possibly an infestation, not just one wolf, a wolf hybrid, a serial killer in a costume, and a big cat or hyena that escaped a zoo. All good guesses, no complaints in my book. That's terrifying though, to not feel safe in your own town, scared some animal's gonna maul your face off. Let me tell you, I'd be getting that U-Haul and I'd be dipping super quick. Now, this fourth story is rather interesting to me. I don't know how many of you have seen the movie Snakes on a Plane. It's pretty scary, that concept of having loose snakes on a plane, an area that you cannot leave because you're like a million feet in the air. That's terrifying as shit. You're probably thinking, oh, how could it get worse than that? Lucky for you, I have the answer because this next story has to do with crocodiles on a plane. In 2010, a small passenger plane crashed in Africa as a result of a smuggled crocodile. A passenger had hidden a crocodile in their carry-on bag and it escaped. The passengers panicked, getting out of their seats and rushing to the other side of the plane. Due to the small size of the plane, it was thrown off balance and the pilots were unable to regain control. The resulting crash would result in the death of the 2 pilots and 18 passengers, with 1 passenger surviving to tell the story. Though the crocodile didn't actually attack, its simple presence was enough to cause a panic that led to the death of 20 people. Okay, so I understand being scared if there's a whole ass alligator on the plane, or crocodile, or whatever it was, but if the plane was that small, these things are pretty large, and they move fast, yes they do, but on such a small plane, they would definitely struggle to get anywhere, and I'm sure there's many other places except one other side of the plane that you could go to. So I guess at the end of the day, the crash really wasn't caused by the crocodile. It was caused by the people running for their lives from this crocodile that's moving probably at like half a mile an hour. Another thing they could have done, they could have made a barricade. They could have put a bunch of suitcases up, formed a little wall that the alligator couldn't crawl over. That's what I would have done, at least. I don't know about y'all, but that's what I would have done. Moving on, next story. The first and only confirmed case of an adult being killed by coyotes happened in Nova Scotia, Canada in 2009. Aspiring folk singer Taylor Michelle was enjoying a solo hike when she was attacked by at least 2 coyotes. She was discovered by other hikers who had chased the coyotes away from Michelle, and she was rushed to the hospital but passed away later that day. The reason for this attack is still a mystery, as the coyotes in this region had not been food conditioned by humans, and Taylor was not carrying any food. The coyotes, who were later trapped, were in excellent physical condition and health. This attack led to ongoing research on coyotes by Parks Canada to hopefully better understand coyote behavior. Now, I have coyotes in my neighborhood. I've seen them. I've seen coyotes. I've seen foxes. And they're like little things. Coyotes are typically like little things like this. And people are always telling you, oh, you don't have to be scared of them. They're little things. They won't hurt you even if they tried. Bullshit. Because if 2 coyotes could take on this fully grown ass woman, I don't want to come in contact with them ever. I don't want to. Because if 2 of them can kill her, sure, if you get attacked by one, maybe it won't kill you, but it could definitely do severe damage. I mean, they're wild dogs, and it really pisses me off how many times I've been told don't worry about the coyotes in the neighborhood when I clearly should be. See, I don't take chances. Y'all can take chances. I'm not taking any chances. And now for the final story. You all have probably heard the name Shamu before in your life. You know, the orca whale from SeaWorld, the one that they made a whole documentary over because there was a lot of abuse going on towards it and stuff like that. Now, obviously, there's gonna be people getting injured and hurt in this story, but at the same time, good. Shamu was treated so horribly at SeaWorld, like, good for Shamu. If I was an orca trapped in that tiny ass tank, being cut and scraped and poked and prodded at by humans, I'd be pretty pissed too. I'd drag a few workers down to the bottom of the tank and eat their heads off if I was Shamu. So yeah, I wouldn't put it past this whale. Captured in 1983. Okay, notice how it's not even saying anything like rescued or obtained. It straight up says captured. So that means these people, SeaWorld, actually had to go out, catch some poor whale at the age of 2, probably stealing it from its mom, to bring it to SeaWorld so a kid picking his nose, eating a lollipop, can wave at it and spit into its tank. God, SeaWorld's such a piece of shit. Captured in 1983 as a 2-year-old calf, Orca Shamu was the star attraction of SeaWorld in Orlando. What the public didn't know is that he had been involved in 2 deaths. One in 1991 when a trainer slipped and fell into his pool, and Shamu killed him with his 2 tank mates, submerged and dragged her until she died several hours later. Again, good for Shamu. Good for Shamu. If you're working at SeaWorld, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go get a life. God, these pictures of all these workers next to Shamu makes me sick. They look so happy, like they know what they're doing and everything, but Shamu had such a terrible life. There's a documentary on Netflix called Blackfish, I think it was. Go watch it. It's very eye-opening. It's very sad, but it's very eye-opening to all the goings-on that happened at SeaWorld. The second occurrence happened 7 years later when a 27-year-old man was found lifeless in Shamu's tank draped over the whale's back when the staff arrived in the morning. The man was covered in wounds and abrasions. SeaWorld kept both events under wraps, but the horror that happened in a full view of visitors in 2010 would reveal Shamu's horrifying history and led people to question whether or not orcas should be kept in captivity at all. That is not a question. That should not be even a decision SeaWorld gets to make. No, they shouldn't be kept in captivity, you dumb shits. It's an orca. It's like the size of my house. And you're gonna put it in a tiny little rink-a-dink round tank? What's wrong with you people? It needs the ocean. That's where it lives. not your dirty, smelly tank. Sorry, that last story kind of ticked me off a little bit, not gonna lie, because I'm passionate about animals, like very passionate about animals. I love animals. I care about the safety of animals. And when I tell people that, they're like, oh, he's so soft-hearted, he's so sweet. No, I ain't. I'll fuck you up. But anyway, that's gonna wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed hearing about how dangerous animals are. I hope you learned something. Don't touch animals. And if you didn't learn anything, I hope you get mauled in the face by Winnie the Pooh. Moral of the story was, if it's fluffy, long, scaly, slimy, or any animal that's not a house pet, don't touch it and you won't have a problem. I forgot to record an outro before I finished editing the rest of the video, so that's why I look like I'm in a different position in my room. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to like, subscribe, and share all that bullshit. And I will see you guys in the next video.